On the one Sunday that we were there, we went to church with one of the communities that was there, and there was a lot of singing that went on, and I thought that was really cool, and like everyone got really into it, even people that were just visiting, and like we all tried to sing along and stuff, and that was fun.
Their services are a lot different than what we're used to.
Well, believe it or not, the sermon was longer than here.
The preacher is really excited, loud, super passionate about everything he's saying. Like, you can tell he believes every single word that's coming out of his mouth.
I couldn't really understand him because he was talking really fast, but he was really passionate in what he was talking about.
There was a lot of singing and stuff going on too. At the beginning of the service, they pretty much sang for 30 minutes, maybe more.
When you got in there, it was so loud, and like everyone was clapping their hands and dancing and stuff.
But then all of a sudden we're in the church service, and it's like, and we have our friends that were going to be singing a song for us as well, and I was kind of like, oh, there are other people here who are going to sing from. That's kind of nice. And Jim was like, all right, face singers, and I was like, no.
I had no idea we were going to be singing there. And at first I had no idea what song we were actually singing. So I was mouthing the words at the beginning because I had no idea.
Yeah, but worked out. We went up there, sang a pretty short song that I enjoy singing, so yeah, that was fun.
The church overall was pretty interesting. I like observing other churches and other religions in general. So it was a really interesting experience for me.
We're just going to share some stories from the mission trip. And the first day we were there, we took a 2-hour hot, sweaty bus ride to a town called Highgate. That's why this section is called Highgate. And we got there after 2 hours and went right into the church service because it just started, which also lasted 2 hours, which was also hot and sweaty. But the pastor that you saw, his name's Leo Hall. He's also the director of Raise International in Jamaica, which is an organization that basically teaches people how to farm and gives them an opportunity to do it. This morning he was preaching on fatherhood because it was Father's Day, and he came up with this statistic, which I don't know how accurate it is, but if it's even close, it's pretty scary. 10% of Jamaicans will know their birth father. Crazy. So this guy also spends a ton of time helping people learn how to farm. They have 197 acres, and if people are interested, they'll give them 2 to 5 acres, teach them how to farm, and then teach them how to sell the produce, and teach them how to manage it and accounting. And they actually put people on their feet financially. This, for me, was a great thing. We do a lot of mercy and aid and relief, but this is real justice work. And I had a great hope for Highgate that they might be able to really turn the system around and allow people to actually get an income.
On the second day, we went to Jacob's Ladder, and it was for like mentally disabled people, so it wasn't really what I was expecting.
It was really different for me because I'm not used to like being around those types of people all the time, but it was really nice to see like how happy they got when we were all there, and we like made bracelets with them, and we took pictures, and they got really excited, and then yeah, they were all just like really happy all the time, so it made me like feel good that we were there with them.
It was really different than what I thought it was gonna be. A lot of the kids, like, it was really hard to like watch, kind of. I mean, some of them couldn't really stand up, but some were really nice. They like talked to you right away. They were really friendly. It was really cool though.
It was just really eye-opening to see how, first of all, their family had blessed them, and obviously that's not an easy thing for anyone.
Going into it, I didn't really think there were going to be special needs kids there, so like right when we got there, it was like a surprise, but it was really cool to see them like have smiles on their faces, and like they'd always want to like hold our hands, and we would make bracelets with them and color with them, and they were just, even though they couldn't talk, they were like so happy that we were there.
I sat there for an hour with this girl who, she never told me her name, but she was very smart. She was able to read along with me, and we just talked and were reading and coloring for like an hour.
Emma brought her Polaroid camera, and it was just really cool to see their faces light up when they got their picture taken, and then they showed you their picture and they were so happy, and it was a great experience.
They were all just so happy, even though their circumstances weren't the best, and they were so excited for people to be there with them, and I was just happy that I could provide that happiness. Even though it may be temporary, it was just really meaningful for me to be a part of that and help them.
So, hi, I'm Emma Kramer, and after a couple days of getting settled in Jamaica, we would split up half and half between our group, and half of us would stay at the camp to help out, like painting and doing some manual labor and stuff, and then the other half of us would go to the Jacob's Ladder orphanage that you just saw in the video, or an infirmary, and I was in the group that went to Jacob's Ladder first, and it was a really interesting experience. From the moment you got off the bus, it was nothing like what we were expecting. I mean, it was like an open facility. People were just wandering around. Like, a guy came up to us immediately after we got off the bus and started talking to us, and it was, and then we split up half and half between that group, and some of us went to this little open facility where they were doing crafts and stuff. And actually, a couple months ago, I was in the kids craft group for planning, and we were trying to come up with ideas for what we could do with the kids there. And I just got this little mini Polaroid camera, basically, last year for my birthday. And I decided that it would be really cool if we got some extra film along and brought it to Jamaica with us. And I had no idea how many kids there were. So we just came with like 3 packs of film, which is about 30 or so pictures. And it was so rewarding. We ended up going into the orphanage, and, you know, we would warn them, like, okay, there's gonna be a bright flash, and then we took the picture, and, you know, they didn't really understand, like, the picture had to develop. And so, but when it ended up developing, it was so cool just to see their faces light up, because most, if I think probably all of them, none of them had pictures of themselves, and so they didn't really get to see like an actual picture of themselves a lot, and their faces would just light up, and their expressions would totally shift to being kind of nervous about us, to just being overjoyed by seeing their picture. And, you know, we helped them like mount it on a little piece of colored paper, and they got to put stickers and write their name and decorate it and stuff. And it was so cool. They were showing the pictures to their friends and dragging us around, like taking us to their friends, and they wanted us to take pictures of other people and like the nurses there. And so yeah, just that person-to-person connection was, I know, probably the most rewarding thing I did in Jamaica. Just to see like the mood shift from being nervous to just really having that connection with someone. So.
Good morning. Again, I don't have a particular place to talk today, but I think my reflection on the trip would be watching our youth walk into the infirmary or the orphanage, and their immediate emotional, physical reaction was back. Lots of amputees at the infirmary and very challenged people, but to go from this to this and to watch them engage was a very, very moving experience. A note about the garage sale. We'll start making pickups tomorrow. If you need a pickup, please call the church office as soon as possible so that next Wednesday, which is our last day, I'm not flooded with 27 all that night. Tomorrow, there will be a semi-trailer out in the parking lot that we've been collecting things at Millard Lumber. If you don't have anything to do tomorrow afternoon and you're thinking, it's going to be a slow day, I have a suggestion. We'd love your help. If you have empty boxes that you just don't know what to do with, I have another suggestion. We always need lots of boxes. We also need people to help sign up, as you heard Ashley say earlier, and we would like donations of food. We have to feed all our volunteers and workers, and if you would be interested in maybe cooking a meal, because we usually work in the afternoon into the evening, that would be greatly appreciated. If you wanted to donate so we could buy a meal, if you wanted to bake us cookies, there it is. Ashley, was that you? Okay, so Gail, you're on the hook for cookies. Okay, all right. The song we're going to sing this morning, Prayer for Humility, really goes along with our mission to Jamaica. When we go there, when we go to Pine Ridge, when we go to Tennessee, wherever we go and work with those who have less, we find out how incredibly privileged and, yes, rich. We are rich, monetarily and with so many things in our lives, to remember to be humble and to serve those who aren't so rich.
So what do you say you get out of the tour experience?
I get out a lot of friendship because that's a big part, because you spend a lot of time in a bus or in a van getting to know them. And I get out like what you can do with music and like how it can affect people, because it really does, like, a lot of people get really emotional about it and stuff, and it's cool to see.
It's definitely more emotional when you go to like an old person's home or retirement home, just because some of the people there are maybe like more I don't know, like handicapped than others. It's like they have wheelchairs, they have Alzheimer's, and then knowing that you can be a spot of brightness in their week or even in their whole month, that's definitely more impactful than just singing at a church. So like when we went to Jim's mom's retirement home in Davenport. The old person choir came in and they sang us a song, and for them to like walk down the aisles and clap and sing and read tiny handprinted notes, that was really hard for them. And one lady said to me, she's like, "Yeah, Mrs. Larrabee just forced us to do it. It was really hard, but it was worth it." And that was very neat, having them sing for us instead of us singing for them.
As a whole, you remember like the group of people and how close you can get and that type of stuff. That's like a more wide memory. It was like, it's not like a specific thing, but I'll have that to know like this tour was really fun. I made a lot of friends and I really like grew the friendships.
It's impactful when you see someone kind of start to show emotion during the concert. Because there's always going to be those people who just kind of sit back and just every song. So but then there are others who you can tell get into the music. They kind of start swaying, bopping along, and then some start crying. And then it's knowing that you made a difference just by singing it's a very cool thing.
Hello. Good morning. Oh no. My name is Elizabeth Tyler. I graduated in May. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Face Singers tour this summer. It was 9 days long. We sang for one worship service. One Sunday morning, we sang for the Wisconsin UCC conference, which was really cool. And we had 5 full concerts elsewhere. We also had 2 fun days. One of them was on Mackinac Island in Michigan. We biked and shopped and hung out and had fun and enjoyed 2 cold and rainy ferry rides. And then our other fun day was at Wisconsin Dells, which I think is a city. And then they have a lot of water parks in it, and we went to one of them, and it was it was really fun. And then we stayed in a huge villa that night too, which was cool. It was like 3 stories for all of us, so that was fun. But I think I speak for the whole choir when I say the most fun part of our tour every year is the way music and the time we spent together brings a bunch of high school teenagers together into a family. For me, Face Singers has been my family for 4 years, and it has supported me through some pretty difficult times, but it has also cheered me on during some really awesome times. And this summer has been very bittersweet for me because it's going to be very hard walking away from this group and leaving them behind to face the world on my own. But I am so glad I got to be a part of it. Our favorite song on the concert, well, I think definitely the seniors' favorite song, is called Fairest Lord Jesus. And not only is the music really, really powerful, but the lyrics are beautiful. And the line that always stuck out to me during our concerts was during the second verse of the song. It was a solo. And it said, Jesus is fairer, Jesus is purer, who makes the woeful heart to sing. And for me, it kind of made the song a bit of a therapy for me because it was very hard for me to say goodbye to this group, and singing was what helped me express that. For the first half of the week, I did really well and I didn't cry because it was just the beginning. But there was one concert, Noah Zaleski was singing a solo with that line in it, and I just kind of lost it a little bit. And then I don't think I went another concert, not shedding a tear. But I was okay. I was okay. And then we made it to home concert, and not only were we home, but it was everyone's last concert of the tour and all the seniors' last concert. And the same line got me again, but I was like, you're good, Elizabeth. Come on, pull it together, pull it together. But then I think I didn't sing for 2 verses. and I was like, come on, Elizabeth, come on, come on. And then I looked around, and I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one who was sad that we were leaving all this behind. I wasn't the only one who was being touched by the music we were singing. And that's when I knew that no matter how difficult it is to say goodbye to this and to go off not knowing if I'll find something like it again, I wouldn't trade what I have here in this church, what I have in Faith Singers and youth group for the world. So.
On the 4th day, we went to St. Anne's Infirmary, and it was kind of like Jacob's Ladder, like it had the mentally disabled people. But, I mean, it was just a whole nother experience. Like, it was like the same people, but it was just so different.
Was not what I was expecting at all from an infirmary. Normally here, you'd think of it as a place to bring some sick person, but in this case, it was disabled elderly people.
I think the infirmary was the hardest place to go of the trip. I know it was certainly the most difficult for me. The conditions were challenging as far as everything from how these people were housed to cleanliness. They were literally in big long wards with bed, nightstand, no sense of personal space, no privacy, no even curtain to draw between a bed if you wanted, to be alone or anything like that. Many of them didn't have a chair near their bed that you could sit on if you wanted to talk to them. You sat on their bed if you were invited.
At first we were just kind of like walking around saying hi to everyone, and then we went in this one building and I met this girl named Katie, and we sat and talked for probably an hour and a half, and she was talking about her life and her kids, and she was just telling me everything about her. And she was happy that we were there to talk to her because she said no one there can actually speak. We're the only people she could actually talk to, and she was really happy that we actually wanted to know about her life and not just say, hey, like, what's your name? Have a good day and stuff.
I didn't really talk much, but they had these hand carts which you pedaled with your hands, and so I drove those around a lot, and then they had a little spot in the back for like a person, so we drove around some of the residents of the infirmary, and they really enjoyed that.
It was definitely very touching for me. I consider myself an introvert, so all the things where we have to go out and interact with people, talk with them and stuff like that, I consider very difficult, and I don't always have the easiest time going out and doing that kind of stuff on mission trips. But for me, it was a very heartwarming experience, like going there, and the infirmary is a place for all the old, infirm individuals who can't live on their own and whose families can't really take care of them, so they have to send them there. And there were a lot of people there who are, disabled physically and mentally and have just a really tough time interacting with people, but when we show up there and start talking to them, you can just see their eyes light up, and it just makes their week to be able to have just someone to share their experiences with, someone they can, just have a good time with for once instead of just sitting around all day.
I learned that you can you can go through a lot of pretty horrible stuff, like the people who were stuck in the infirmary. Mm-hmm. And I mean, so a lot of the kids probably didn't have the best home lives and everything, but they make the best of it. We lived with, when we were living there, we had a lot less of the privileges we have here. We didn't have, Wi-Fi. We didn't have hot water most of the time. Mm-hmm. But we still manage. It doesn't make us different people. It's how we treat each other and how we interact. What we leave behind and how we talk to people is what mattered.
Hello, I'm Danielle. I just finished my sophomore year of high school, so I've been on 2 choir trips and 2 mission trips. And this last one really kind of got to me when we went to the infirmary, which is what the video is about. And so as we drove up, you see it looks like a rundown motel. Like, it's one story, there's you can tell there's no air conditioning because everything's like wide open. I think we might have saw a couple fans, but they didn't really do too much. And there's like this fence around the outside, and it's like we walk up and we're all like swarming the little pieces of shade provided by the small building. And so like we walk through, and we first walk through the men's side of the building. And so like I'm like, you're walking down the aisle, and I quickly clung to whoever was standing next to me because I was terrified. Like I didn't really know what to do, so we're walking down, and I don't know how to describe how I felt in one word. Like I was like terrified kind of for myself, but also really sympathetic of the people that were there. Like some of the residents, they were completely abled beings. They're just older in age, elderly, but then others were just in really bad shape. And there's this little voice in my head telling me to just make a break for it, just like run. But despite that, I just stayed. I was walking at a pretty quick pace down like the aisle with beds on either side. And like I would stop quickly to like shake their hands, like say hello, good morning, how was your day? But that's about it. It's like I got through the entire men's side in less than 5 minutes. And we were supposed to be there for 2 hours. It wasn't really gonna work out too well. So I was really worried. I didn't know what to do. And then we start walking to the other side, like where like all the women are, and it drastically changed. Like there were still like the bad conditions and everything, but I just felt a lot more comfortable. So I just started like talking to people. There were some people sitting and watching TV, so like I kind of tried to start talking to them. And there's this one lady who just like kind of grabbed my hand, and she didn't talk, but she just kind of grabbed me and led me down this like back hallway. And so I was like, okay, where are you taking me? And then she like walked me into like the rooms with all the women's beds like on either side, and she just led me over to this lady who was talked about in the video named Katie. And she just kind of told you all about her life, and it was just like a fantastic story. And it's like you couldn't really talk to many of them. Like there were only a couple people that could really like have a conversation with you, and those were the ones that were just kind of like there because they were a little bit older and they didn't really have anyone else there for them, so they were in the infirmary. And so I was walking around, and I would just go to the ones that you could have a conversation with. Like I was just trying to connect with someone. I wasn't really like. That's all I was trying to do. And when I finally let that go is when I learned like the biggest lesson that I probably learned on this whole trip. That you kind of just got to stop trying to control everything, kind of just got to let God work through you. And that's when I went to this one lady named Dolores, who we started having a conversation, but it was more just me talking because she had this towel that she would just bite on. So she wouldn't talk, but she'd like point at these things, and we'd kind of have a conversation that way. And I know I didn't have a huge impact on her life or anything, but I left her with a good memory, and she just imprinted that lesson upon me. Some may say, well, you can have a great experience like that a lot closer to home, but the conditions there are just completely different, and so it was such an eye-opening experience. Most of the people there, if not all of them, were gonna die there. And it was but they were still hanging on. And so I'm so very glad for getting the opportunity to go to Jamaica, and it will be a trip I won't forget.
Vacation Bible School was something that we did every afternoon that we were there, and it was a madhouse every day because all the kids would come after school and they would play on the bounce house and they would play sports and like do crafts, and they were just so excited to like get something fun to do and not just have to go home after school.
The kids really led pretty much everything, and I was really proud of them because they took the lead, and sometimes it was challenging. It was hot. The kids that we were working with were not the kids we're used to. They don't really form a line and stand patiently to wait for their turn. Sometimes they fight to be first or next or to take another turn. And so our kids really stepped up to handle that in a very positive way. I was really proud.
I met a lot of like adorable kids, and like they would just attach to you right away. Like every day they'd come up and give you a hug.
The very first day, all the little girls were infatuated with our hair and wanted to give us cornrows, which for being 5-6 years old, they weren't the best, but it was really adorable. And the first day, everybody was getting their hair done, and this little girl named Kisana came and she wanted to do my hair, and then afterwards we took a picture and she wanted to take the picture, and it was so cute. And then the next day, she was back again and immediately ran up to me, and we hung out the whole day playing games like Duck, Duck, Goose and stuff, and it was really fun. It wasn't so much that we had in-depth conversations because she was a 6-year-old, but it was just the way that when you talked to her, she'd listen, and you could really tell that it wasn't just, oh, this is my fun American friend I'm going to play with for today. It was something more than that, and it was really cool to see that.
The children were a lot more free range. Like, a lot of them, their parents probably had to work, and a lot of them, were missing one of their parents and whatnot. So the children were a lot of the time just did whatever they wanted. They just walked around with their friends to, the soccer field or to where we were at the church, and just kind of did their own thing all day and then went home at night. And it was different. Like, here, a lot of parents are just need to know what their kid is doing every second of every day, and it's just not like that there at all.
The bounce house was really intense, except it was the most chaotic area for us because everybody wanted to go on it and everybody wanted to have a turn, and so the line went on forever and never stopped, and everybody was angry that it was taking so long, and it was just there was no way we could have gone around it because everybody wanted some time on it when they could. So that was definitely the most chaotic, but everybody got to do a craft, and then we had soccer going on, which the kids that were playing that played that the whole time and never stopped.
In Jamaica, soccer is almost their life because they have nothing better to do. So they just would wake up, go and play soccer.
So how bad did they beat you?
We lost once, and then we came back for another game, and we won 5-2. So that was pretty cool. But they were also children, so.
So my favorite memory that I think I'm going to reflect back on for years to come is just at the end of the day, Vacation Bible School, we would walk home and all the little kids would follow us, and they wanted to hold our hand. And sometimes they would keep walking well beyond their house, and they would just look up and just look at you. And I just treasure that. It's a really neat experience.
Okay, so how many of you like ice cubes and air conditioning? Yeah. Okay, there was none of that for the whole time we were there. And the first 2 days I thought I was gonna die, and then I just sweat the rest of the time. It was awful, it was so bad. So, that part. But, Vacation Bible School was actually just all these kids just running around, and we would just play games with them. We did not teach them the Bible. We did not do snacks, and we did games. We didn't have a story though. So it was just playing with kids for 4-ish hours. And oh, can you hear me better now? Okay. So, Vacation Bible School really, really helped me out that week. So, because I hadn't really been finding, I wanted to make an impact on somebody, but that wasn't really happening. At the infirmary, or for example at Jacob's Ladder, the person I was talking to fell asleep while I was talking to them. So I fell asleep too. And yeah, that was fun. So then at VBS though, I just this kid, Alex, came up to me one day and was just like, "Hey Ingrid, let's go play." And I was like, "How do you know my name?" And it turns out the other day he had played with me for 5 minutes, and apparently he remembered my name, and I was so happy that I made an impact and everything. But really this kid just wanted to play, and I was like, "That is awesome, yes, let's do that." So we would sing songs and play Duck Duck Goose, and we would just sit places on this ledge and just hang out and talk, because he was a cool kid. And so he probably though made more of an impact on me with that. And because what Eric was telling me at VBS one time was that in this first world country, we are poor in time, and because it's always go, 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 where we gotta be in 10 minutes, it takes 5 minutes to get there, how long is this gonna take, and we just don't have time. And they have a ton of time, to make all these amazing relationships, and I thought that was so cool. And so, they're just so rich in time, and it's just amazing. And so for Alex, he really gave me a really cool relationship. So that was VBS. Thanks.
So the revival rally was one of the cooks goes to one of the churches in the township, and all the townships around the area come together and raise money for, I'm not sure what exactly, they're building something, so they essentially provided incredible music. The kids sang, the adults sang, and as they sang, they would raise money and say, we need to raise this kind of money, can you support? And they'll keep singing, or they'll try to encourage people to give money, and you kind of go up, and as you go up they cheer you on, and so it was a really great experience.
There are a lot of talented singers there. Of course, the accents made it a little difficult to actually understand some of it, but from what I could understand, they were really talented.
Everyone was so passionate about it, like they got so into it, and everyone sang so loud, and they'd be like clapping, and when people brought money, they got so excited that their church was getting money.
The cook invited us, and it was a very big deal to her because it was like her church, and their church can only host it like every 10 years or something, and I guess it's like a big deal to have it. And my favorite part was we showed up and Valerie came out, and she like was in nice clothes, and she was so happy to see us. And Emma screams something about how beautiful she looked, and her face just lit up. And then it was so fun to see all the cool little acts, and like the hand people, like they weren't coordinated at all, but it was fun to see I can do that.
Sometimes I was kind of like, thought it was weird because it was all about the money, and like, they were selling off kids, and when they didn't get money, they were like saying it was other people's fault, and I don't know, it was weird, but I just thought it was really cool that they like cared so much about their church and like their community.
So they weren't actually selling off their kids, don't worry. It's just their way of raising some funds. We're not going to allow our kids to get down from the stage until we raise a little bit of money. So they would say, let's raise $10,000 right now. And that was 10,000 Jamaican, so that was about $100 of our money. But that was still quite a lot, considering that the median, the per capita income in Jamaica is $5,200 a year. In our zip code, it's 8 times that, so it's more like saying, let's raise $800 for every round, and they did about 20 rounds of that. And the people coming together from all over, walking for miles to join from other churches to raise money for this one church, just ponied up and kept ponying up and kept raising that money. Now, I'm not wearing my Jamaica tour t-shirt because this is the 2009 Facing Her t-shirt when I was on that tour, because I did what Will suggested, which was bring a bunch of clothes and then leave them there in Jamaica for the people and come home with your carry-on. But I was really impressed by the balance between just manual labor and person-to-person contact. It was swayed towards person-to-person contact on this trip. You notice you didn't hear anything about the manual labor we did, which was meaningful, but not nearly as meaningful as giving away love and receiving love. And when you do that yourself, when you give away love and you receive love, that people tend to get under your skin. It's a kind of a vulnerable thing to do that. They tend to get under your skin. Obviously, you can tell from our youth, these people in Jamaica got under their skin, and we also got under each other's skin as well, really beginning to authentically care in ways that we hadn't before. And that time that you just saw at the rally was a particularly meaningful time for me, when some of that caring kind of hit me in ways that I didn't expect and couldn't defend myself against, so to speak. That day, I wasn't really particularly looking forward to going. I was wrestling with my own kind of stuff. I just learned during that trip that our daughter, Ariana, would have to go back for another round of brain surgery because the cancer in her brain had started to grow back. And so she'll be having surgery on the 28th of this month. And the fragility of life was very much upon me. I didn't really want to go out and do anything. But showed up, and they just kept singing. And they just kept singing. And they were swaying, and they were singing, and they were swearing. And then there was, it just kind of got hotter and hotter. I mean, the atmosphere got thicker and thicker and more joyous, and people swaying and singing all around. And of course, then there was us, like we were like the great white polar ice cap. I mean, we're truly the frozen chosen. Like, oh, this is interesting, like this. But I discovered as things were going, I needed that singing and that swaying and that thickness of the atmosphere, maybe more than a lot of people there. And so I actually stayed around for about another hour after people left. And as I was kind of doing my own praying and thinking about my own daughter and the fragility of this situation, the growing awareness just kind of sank into me that, as upset as I was about my own daughter's fragility, they were all, every parent there, was also facing the fragility of life for their own children. Maybe not because of cancer in all cases, but certainly because of poverty. That life is very fragile there in ways that we just can't even understand. When all of your drinking water comes from what you can harvest from your roof, And so I began just kind of to feel like, my God, we're very much community here. We're all in this together. And thinking also, I brought the Pope's advanced copy of his encyclical down on the environment with me while I was reading that. And, the Pope is openly speculating, as I do, do we have 100 years before global warming has taken us to places we just absolutely do not want to go? And the Pope is a constant reminder that the people who are going to suffer most through global warming, who already are suffering most through global warming, are the world's poorest. Here are these very people. The people who suffer far more than we do, for our acts of consumption. And so as that kind of, the evening wore on, I internally kind of accepted a personal invitation to, in a sense, embrace the frozen chosenness of us. Like, that is, embrace our invitation to be chosen to keep what's frozen, like the polar ice caps, and those kind of things. Well, then finally, as the evening just continued to heat up and the air got thick and with praise and worship and so forth, I also found another growing awareness inside me, which essentially said, Eric, you're in tears right now about the fragility of your daughter's life, and yet these very people who have this same situation variously with their own kids, they're all singing and praising. So by the end of the evening, Eric got his groove on. And I experienced, I think, what I think it was Elizabeth mentioned on Faith Singers, the line that came out of the song for her that Jesus is fairer, Jesus is purer, that makes the woeful heart to sing. And I said amen to that.